Talia Gray tightened her grip on the tether as her magnetic boots clicked against the outer hull of Lunaris 9. The asteroid mining station loomed against the backdrop of endless black, its lights flickering intermittently, a symptom of the recent electrical surges plaguing the system. "Gray, do you copy?" crackled a voice in her comlink. It was Milo Raines, the station's no-nonsense security officer. "Loud and clear," she replied, her breath fogging her helmet visor slightly. "I'm at the array. Looks like something fried half the sensors." She began examining the damaged equipment, her gloved hands moving with the precision of someone who'd done this 100 times before. But something felt off. The stars seemed to shimmer unnaturally, as though the universe itself were holding its breath. Her tools clanked against the hull as she dislodged a scorched panel. Beneath it, she found the source of the anomaly, a strange, black orb embedded in the wiring. It pulsed faintly with an inner light, patterns of glowing fractals swirling across its surface. "What the hell is this?" Talia muttered, reaching out instinctively. "Gray, say again?" Milo's voice cut in. Before she could respond, her fingers brushed the orb. A sudden jolt surged through her body, and the universe fell away. The stars vanished, replaced by an endless, swirling void. Voices whispered around her, a chaotic chorus of languages she couldn't understand but felt like she should. Images flooded her mind, colossal ships splitting the sky, planets engulfed in shadow, and towering biomechanical figures wreathed in light and darkness. A deep, resonant voice rose above the whispers. "They're coming. You must awaken." Talia gasped, the void collapsing around her. She was back on the station hull, but her knees buckled as nausea overtook her. "Gray, report. What's going on?" Milo barked. I don't know," she stammered, shaking her head. She grabbed the orb and shoved it into her tool pouch, its faint glow disappearing as she sealed it away. "I found something. Heading back now." As she made her way toward the airlock, a low hum reverberated through the hull, growing louder by the second. Talia stopped, looking up to see a distortion in space, a rippling tear that seemed to pull light and matter into its center. Her heart raced. "Control, are you seeing this?" The comlink was silent. The tear widened, and from it emerged a shadow, a massive, jagged shape that shimmered with an unnatural glow. It drifted closer, casting the station in eerie half-light. Talia froze as smaller shapes detached from it, moving with unnerving speed. Shadows solidified into forms, humanoid, metallic, and sharp, with spiked limbs and glowing eyes. They clung to the station's hull, moving toward the airlock. Inside her helmet, Talia's breath quickened. The comlink crackled to life. "Lunaris 9, this is Earth Command. You've encountered a Darkside breach. Secure the relic at all costs. Repeat, do not let them take it." The shadows turned, their glowing eyes locking onto her. Cliffhanger. Talia's tether snapped, sending her spinning into the void as the shadows closed in. Talia tumbled through space, her body weightless and spinning uncontrollably. The jagged, glowing monstrosities clinging to Lunaris 9 grew smaller with each turn. Her breaths were shallow, her heart pounding as she tried to stabilize herself. "Gray, where are you?" Milo's voice cut through the static, calm but edged with urgency. She activated her suit's thrusters, tiny bursts of gas slowing her spin. "Still alive." "Barely. My tether snapped. I'm floating off." "Hang on." There was a pause, then his voice returned tighter. "We've got bigger problems. They're inside. We've got casualties already." Talia glanced back at the station. The shadows, those metallic, spiked figures, were pouring into the main airlock. A faint scream echoed through her comm before cutting out. Her gut twisted. "Damn it, Milo. We have to get out of here." "I've got a plan," he replied grimly. "Make your way to Dock C. I'll get Dr. Cade and meet you there. If these things want the relic, we're not sticking around to hand-deliver it." Talia's fingers brushed the orb in her tool pouch, its faint pulse warming her gloved hand. She had no idea what it was, but it had to be connected to whatever was happening. She activated her thrusters again, angling herself toward Dock C. Inside the station, chaos reigned. The Voidbringers moved with terrifying precision, their razor-sharp limbs slicing through bulkheads and crew alike. Dr. Elias Cade crouched behind an overturned storage crate, clutching a makeshift plasma torch. He peered around the edge, his usually calm face twisted in terror. "Milo," he shouted into his comlink. "I can hear them. They're in the lab next door. How close are you?" "Too close," Milo replied. A door slammed open nearby, and Cade jumped. The security officer emerged, his heavy rifle at the ready. "Let's move." Cade hesitated. "You don't understand. These things, they aren't just killing us, they're changing people. I saw Jenkins, he got impaled by one of them, and then his body transformed. It's like they're assimilating the crew." Milo scowled. "All the more reason to leave now. Move." Talia reached Dock C, her suit scraping against the hatch as she squeezed into the dimly lit bay. The station trembled with distant impacts, and red emergency lights painted the walls in ominous hues. Come on," she muttered, keying open the cockpit of a battered supply freighter. Her fingers flew over the console as she initiated a systems check. "Gray, we're here," Milo's voice came over the comm. Talia turned to see Milo and Cade sprinting into the dock, the latter looking pale and shaken. Behind them, metallic shadows stalked forward, their glowing eyes piercing the darkness. "They're right behind us," Cade yelled. Talia slammed the hatch release. "Get in." As the two clambered aboard, the Voidbringers leaped forward, their limbs slicing at the closing door. One managed to wedge its arm inside, its claws inches from Milo's face. "Hold on," Talia yelled, overriding the door's mechanism. The hatch slammed shut, severing the creature's limb with a sickening screech. The freighter blasted away from Lunaris 9, leaving the station behind. Talia's hands trembled as she guided the ship toward the edge of the asteroid field. "Where are we going?" Cade asked, clutching the armrest. "To Earth," Milo answered. "We're not equipped to deal with this here." Cade shook his head. "You don't get it. This is bigger than Earth. I've seen these things before, in classified archives. They're called Voidbringers. They don't just kill, they conquer. And that relic you're holding, Talia?" Her hand reflexively touched the orb. "What about it?" "It's their beacon. You didn't find it, it found you." Cliffhanger. The freighter sensors blared an alarm. Ahead, a massive tear in space opened, and from its depths emerged a towering Voidbringer dreadform, a biomechanical behemoth glowing with ominous energy, blocking their path to safety. The freighter jolted violently as Talia wrenched the controls to avoid the Voidbringer dreadform. It loomed in the void, a monstrosity of jagged, glowing black metal, with tendrils of pure energy snaking out from its body to rake across the asteroid field. Smaller Voidbringer vessels poured out of its core like hornets from a nest, converging on their ship. "Brace yourselves," Talia shouted, her hands dancing over the console as the freighter dove between the jagged rocks. The proximity alarms blared a continuous wail, warning of impacts on all sides. "Isn't this thing armed?" Milo barked, gripping his seat as the ship shuddered from another near miss. "It's a supply freighter, not a warship," Talia snapped. "You want guns? Go grab a mining drill." "Fantastic," Milo muttered, unbuckling himself. "What are you doing?" Cade asked, wide-eyed. Milo yanked open a panel near the cockpit. "We might not have guns, but we've got some high-yield mining charges in the cargo bay. Buy me some time." He disappeared down the corridor before anyone could argue. Talia gritted her teeth as the dreadform fired another energy lance, the beam slicing through the asteroid field and narrowly missing their ship. Cade leaned over the console, scanning the display. "Those smaller ships are flanking us," he said, his voice rising. "They're herding us toward the dreadform." "I see it." Talia shot back, throwing the ship into a sharp roll to dodge a swarm of Voidbringer drones. The freighter groaned under the stress. You can't just keep dodging them forever. Got a better idea. Cade hesitated, then his eyes flicked to the relic resting in Talia's tool pouch. That thing, it's connected to them, right? Maybe we can use it. Talia hesitated. She could feel the relic's faint pulse through her suit, its presence tugging at the edges of her mind. The whispers from earlier were gone, but she could sense something else. A network, vast and intricate, like a web stretching across dimensions. You're saying I should use it. I'm saying we don't have a choice. In the cargo bay, Milo armed a set of mining charges, sweat dripping down his face as the ship shook violently. You better keep this thing in one piece for 5 more minutes, he muttered, slamming the last detonator into place. He turned to head back to the cockpit, but froze. One of the Voidbringer drones had breached the cargo bay, its spiked frame twisting unnaturally as it crawled toward him. Not today, Milo growled, raising a plasma cutter. Back in the cockpit, Talia gripped the relic. As soon as her skin made contact, her vision exploded with light. She felt her consciousness expand, her mind brushing against something vast and alien. The Voidbringers were a part of it, a hive, driven by an unrelenting will. She focused on the smaller ships pursuing them, willing them to slow. For a moment, they hesitated, faltering in their formation. It's working, Cade exclaimed, but the moment shattered as the dreadform let out a pulse of energy, severing her connection and sending her reeling. Milo stumbled back into the cockpit, his face smeared with blood. Charges are set. Get us near that thing's core, and I'll blow it to hell. Talia nodded, her hands steadying the controls. Hang on. The freighter shot forward, weaving through a hail of enemy fire. As they approached the dreadform, Milo prepared to detonate the charges. But before he could, the relic pulsed brightly, and Talia heard the voice again. Your world has betrayed you. Return to them, and you will die. Cliffhanger. As the charges detonated, crippling the dreadform, Earth Command hailed their freighter. The voice on the other end was cold and commanding. You are ordered to surrender the relic immediately. Non-compliance will result in termination. The freighter limped through the debris field of the shattered dreadform, its engine sputtering and hull scorched. Talia clenched her fists around the controls, her knuckles white. Earth Command's voice crackled again, sharp and emotionless. This is Admiral Riker of Unified Space Command. Surrender the relic immediately, or we will terminate your vessel. You are harboring a galactic threat. Talia glanced at Milo and Cade, both battered but alive. Milo was reloading his plasma rifle, muttering curses under his breath. Cade, pale and shaken, clutched the relic in both hands. This is insane, Talia said, her voice low. We barely escaped with our lives, and now Earth wants to shoot us down. They're scared, Cade said, staring at the glowing orb. And they're right to be. This thing isn't just connected to the Voidbringers. It's a key to something bigger. If Command knows that... Milo cut in, his tone sharp. Then they'll kill us to keep it from falling into the wrong hands. Or the right ones. A warning klaxon blared, jolting them. On the sensor readout, a fleet of Earth Command drones closed in fast, their weapons primed. Not much time for debate, Milo said, strapping himself into his seat. What's the play? Talia's mind raced. We can't fight them. We need to run, and figure out what this relic really is before we hand it over to anyone. Run where? Milo asked. The answer came unbidden, as if planted in her mind. Coordinates flashed across Talia's vision, a location burned into her thoughts by the relic. She barely understood it, but it felt like a compulsion, an undeniable pull. Outpost Erebus, she said. Milo frowned. Erebus? That place has been dead for centuries. Not entirely, Cade interjected, his voice trembling. It was one of the last known Voidwalker sites before humanity abandoned Darkside research. If there's anything left, it might explain what we're dealing with. Talia nodded. Then that's where we're going. The freighter's engines flared as Talia pushed them to their limit, diving into the cover of a nearby nebula. The Earth drones followed, their weapons firing bright streaks of plasma through the dense clouds. The freighter shuddered as a shot grazed its hull. Shields are almost gone, Milo barked, gripping the armrest. Hold on. Talia veered hard, threading the ship through narrow asteroid formations that crackled with electromagnetic storms. The drones faltered, unable to navigate the dangerous terrain. As the last of the drones disappeared from the sensors, Talia let out a shaky breath. We're clear, for now. Outpost Erebus loomed ahead, orbiting a dying star that cast everything in a dim, eerie glow. The station was massive but derelict, its surface scarred by age and neglect. As they docked, the silence was oppressive, broken only by the creak of the freighter settling into its bay. Inside, the air was stale, the corridors dark and cold. The group moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing. Strange symbols marked the walls, glowing faintly as if alive. This place is wrong, Milo muttered. Cade stopped abruptly, his face pale. Look at this. In the center of the room stood a humanoid exosuit, sleek and advanced, its design more alien than human. It pulsed faintly, as if waiting. It's Voidwalker tech, Cade whispered. These suits were meant to channel Darkside energy, but they required— He trailed off, his gaze falling on the relic. Required what? Talia asked, stepping closer. Cade met her eyes. A host. Cliffhanger. As Talia reached out to the suit, the relic in her pouch flared brightly, and the station's AI powered on with a chilling message. Intruders detected. Initiating Voidwalker protocol. You cannot leave. The dim glow of the outpost Erebus flickered to life, bathing the group in pale, sickly light. Talia instinctively drew back from the exosuit as the relic flared in her pouch, sending waves of heat and cold through her body. Voidwalker protocol. Milo muttered, raising his plasma rifle and scathing the room. That doesn't sound like a friendly welcome. Cade fumbled with his datapad, his fingers shaking. This outpost was designed for experimentation on the Voidbringers. If the protocol's been activated, it means it thinks we're part of the experiment. A deep hum reverberated through the station, and the walls seemed to shift, revealing hidden panels. From the shadows emerged humanoid figures, their skeletal frames sleek and glinting in the dim light. Their eyes glowed faintly, the same eerie hue as the relic. Fantastic, Milo growled. More Voidbringers? No, Cade whispered. They're automated constructs. Defense units. They're protecting something. Talia stepped forward, her heart pounding as the relic pulsed again. The constructs halted, their glowing eyes locking onto her. She felt an invisible force tugging her toward the exosuit. Wait, Cade said, grabbing her arm. We don't know what it'll do. These suits were prototypes, untested. If you activate it, do we have a choice? Talia shot back, her voice edged with frustration. Earth Command is hunting us. Voidbringers are out there, and this station doesn't want us leaving. Whatever's in this thing, it's the only chance we've got. Cade hesitated, then released her arm. Be careful. Talia approached the exosuit, her breath shallow. As she lifted the relic, its fractal patterns shifted, aligning perfectly with grooves on the suit's chest. The moment it made contact, the suit came alive, its surface rippling as if organic. Talia, step back, Milo warned, his rifle aimed at the suit. But it was too late. Tendrils of energy shot out, wrapping around her body and pulling her into the suit. She screamed, the sound cutting off abruptly as the helmet closed around her head. Inside, Talia's vision went dark. Then, one by one, lights blinked on, revealing a vast interface overlaid with streams of alien code. She felt the suit probing her thoughts, sensing with her mind. You are chosen, a voice echoed in her head. It was the same voice she had heard before, deep and resonant. Talia gasped as memories not her own flooded her mind, images of Voidbringer worlds, of battles fought with beings that wielded power beyond comprehension. She saw the Voidwalkers, humanity's secret weapon, created to harness the energy of the relics, but abandoned when the cost became too great. She felt the suit's power coursing through her, amplifying her strength, her senses. But it came with a warning: the suit feeds on the host. Use it too long, and it will consume you. Outside, Milo and Cade watched in tense silence as the exosuit stepped forward, now fully active. The constructs that had surrounded them suddenly lowered their weapons and knelt, as though in reverence. "Talia?" Milo asked cautiously. Her voice came through the suit's external speakers, distorted but unmistakably hers. "I'm still here." The station shook violently, knocking Milo and Cade to the ground. Alarms blared, and the A's voice returned. Voidbringer presence detected, preparing for incursion. On the freighter's external sensors, a massive rift tore open in space. From it emerged a Voidbringer fleet, larger and more menacing than before. Milo scrambled to his feet, gripping his rifle. "Looks like they tracked us here. What's the plan, boss?" Talia turned toward the viewport, the suit's glowing eyes reflecting the encroaching darkness. "We don't run, we fight." Cliffhanger. As Talia activated the suit's weapon systems, a towering Voidbringer appeared in the rift, its voice booming across the station's comms. "You wear the armor of the fallen. Surrender the relic, or face annihilation." Talia stood motionless in the Voidwalker exosuit, its alien energy pulsing in time with the relic nestled within its core. Outside the viewport, the Voidbringer fleet loomed, a menagerie of jagged dreadforms and spiked warships glowing with ominous power. The towering Voidbringer that had spoken radiated a malevolent intelligence, its biomechanical frame crackling with dark energy. Milo slung his plasma rifle over his shoulder, his voice breaking the tense silence. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and sitting on a derelict station that's trying to kill us. So Talia, any brilliant ideas?" Talia's distorted voice came through the suit's speakers. "The station's systems are tied to the relic. I can feel it. It was built to fight the Voidbringers, and I think I can reactivate its defenses. But it won't be enough to stop that fleet." "Then what?" Cade asked, clutching his datapad. His face was pale, his voice edged with desperation. Talia turned toward the control console, her movements fluid but unnervingly alien. "The suit's memories, they showed me something. There's a weapon here, buried deep in the station. A failsafe. If we activate it, we can destroy the rift and their fleet along with it." Milo frowned. "And us?" A pause. "We won't have long to get out." The station trembled again as Voidbringer drones breached its outer hull. The A's cold, mechanical voice filled the air. "Hostile entities have entered the facility. Containment protocols failing." "Then we better move," Milo said, cocking his rifle. The trio sprinted through the station's shadowed corridors, Talia leading the way with her enhanced speed and strength. As they passed the kneeling defense constructs, she willed them to rise, her connection to the relic commanding their obedience. "Defend the core," she ordered, and the constructs moved as one, heading toward the advancing Voidbringer drones. The group reached a massive chamber deep within the station. At its center was a towering device, an intricate lattice of crystalline conduits and glowing energy nodes. The Voidwalker suit's interface identified it instantly: Darkside Containment Pulse Array. "This is it," Cade said, his voice trembling. "But the power levels are unstable. If we fire this thing without stabilizing the core..." "Stabilizing takes time we don't have," Talia interrupted. She stepped into the center of the room, connecting herself to the array. "The suit can channel the energy, but it's going to burn me out fast." "Wait," Milo said, stepping forward. "There's gotta be another way." "There isn't." Talia's voice was firm. "Get back to the freighter. I'll hold them off while you prep for launch." No chance, Milo shot back. We came here together, we leave together. Before Talia could respond, the chamber doors exploded inward. Voidbringer drones poured through, followed by a hulking warform, one of their elite. Its glowing eyes locked onto Talia. You are unworthy of the Fallen's legacy, it hissed, advancing with lethal intent. The chamber erupted into chaos. Talia charged the warform, her suit's energy blades igniting as she clashed with the towering foe. Milo and Cade ducked behind cover, firing at the swarm of drones. Talia, the array, Cade shouted. I'm working on it, she gritted out, deflecting a strike from the warform's blade-like arm. The suit systems screamed warnings at her, overload imminent, host integrity failing, but she ignored them, focusing on the fight. As she struck a critical blow, severing the warform's core, the relic flared brightly, sensing fully with the array. The room trembled as the weapon powered up, energy crackling through the conduits. It's ready, Talia yelled. Get to the ship now. Milo grabbed Cade, pulling him toward the exit. We're not leaving you. Go, Talia shouted, her voice layered with the suit's resonant distortion. I'll be right behind you. They hesitated but relented, disappearing into the corridor. Talia turned back to the array as the Voidbringer fleet intensified its assault. Cliffhanger. As Talia prepared to fire the weapon, the Voidbringer commander's voice echoed in her mind. You are their pawn, but you do not have to be. Surrender the relic, and we will show you the truth. The rift pulsed, and for a split second, Talia saw a vision of Earth, burning under Voidbringer domination. The rift's pulse sent waves of disorienting energy through the chamber. Talia staggered, the Voidwalker suit struggling to process the overwhelming surge. The Voidbringer commander's voice reverberated through her mind again, calm yet insidious. You fight for a lie, Talia. The relic speaks to you because it knows the truth. Earth is doomed. Your leaders created the Voidbringers and abandoned the consequences. Surrender, and I will spare your world. Images flooded her vision. Earth's military detonating weapons of unimaginable scale to halt Voidbringer incursions, wiping out entire colonies and sacrificing millions. A shadowy council in a sterile room, speaking of acceptable losses. And the relic, splintered and scattered across space, its fragments stolen in a desperate bid to contain the darkness humanity had unleashed. Talia gasped, her grip tightening on the suit's controls. The Voidwalker armor hissed warnings into her ears, but she forced the memories aside. You're lying, she growled, though doubt gnawed at her resolve. Am I? Look within the relic, Talia. It is not just a weapon. It is a recorder, a witness, and it remembers. Meanwhile, Milo and Cade reached the freighter, the station's tremors growing more violent with each passing second. Cade scrambled to the control console, desperately initiating the ship's startup sequence. She's cutting it way too close. Milo snapped, pacing by the loading ramp. Cade didn't look up. You think I don't know that? The station's defenses are failing. We have maybe 5 minutes before the Voidbringers breach the core. We should go back for her. We just get in the way, Cade shot back. Milo's jaw tightened, but he reluctantly boarded the freighter, gripping his rifle. She better make it. In the core chamber, Talia's connection to the array deepened, the relic's energy interweaving with her thoughts. The Voidwalker suit amplified her senses, allowing her to see the vast network of the Voidbringer's hive mind, stretching through the rift like an intricate web of dark light. The Voidbringer commander appeared in the doorway, its towering frame radiating menace. It did not attack, but instead extended a clawed hand. You are not our enemy, Talia. The relic belongs to us. Give it willingly, and you will understand your true purpose. The relic pulsed, and Talia hesitated. She could feel the truth in its depths, the echoes of humanity's betrayal, the blood-soaked origins of the Voidbringers. But another truth shone brighter, the millions of lives that would perish if she faltered now. No, she said, her voice steady. I won't let you have it. So be it, the commander hissed, its calm demeanor evaporating into fury. The Voidbringer lunged, but Talia was ready. Her suit responded faster than thought, her energy blades clashing with its claws. The force of the impact shook the chamber as they fought, the Voidbringer's strength matched only by the ferocity of the Voidwalker suit. With a final surge of power, Talia drove one of her blades into the commander's core, shattering it in an explosion of dark energy. The relic's light flared brighter, synchronizing fully with the array. "Talia," Milo's voice crackled through her comms. "The station's collapsing. You need to get out of there." Talia's HUD showed the timer, barely 2 minutes until the array fired, erasing everything within the rift's reach, including the station. She sprinted toward the exit, the chamber crumbling behind her. As Talia reached the docking bay, the freighter's ramp lowered, and Milo pulled her aboard. "You sure know how to make an entrance," he said, though his voice was tight with relief. Cade yelled from the cockpit, "Strap in. We're out of time." The freighter roared to life, blasting out of the docking bay just as the station began to implode. Cliffhanger. From the viewport, they watched as the array activated. The pulse of blinding energy surged through the rift, collapsing it, and the Voidbringer fleet, into nothingness. But as the light faded, Talia felt the relic pulse one last time, a single thought burning into her mind. This is only the beginning. The freighter hurtled through space, leaving the wreckage of Outpost Erebus and the now vanished Voidbringer fleet behind. The crew sat in tense silence, the only sound the hum of the engines and the distant, unspoken weight of the battle that had just transpired. Talia stared out the viewport, her mind still reeling from the relic's last pulse. She could feel it inside her, its call, its insistent hum, like a heartbeat syncing with her own. "We're alive," Milo said, his voice rough. He leaned back in his seat, wiping the sweat from his brow. "But not by much. You sure that was the right move, Talia?" Talia didn't answer immediately. The memory of the Voidbringer commander's voice still echoed in her mind. This is only the beginning. She knew what it meant, knew that the battle they'd fought was only a small part of something far larger. Something that had begun long before humanity had ever set foot in the stars. Cade, his face pale but resolute, turned from the controls. "I've been analyzing the data from the array's final burst. The Voidbringers, they're not just out there, they're everywhere. The rift wasn't just a passageway for their fleet, it was a signal, a beacon." Talia felt her blood run cold. "A beacon? For what?" "For more," Cade said softly, "for the entire Voidbringer empire." Milo cursed under his breath. "We've barely made it out of this one, and now we're facing an invasion?" "I don't know if it's that simple," Talia said, her voice low. "The relic, it's like a key, and when it activated the array, it didn't just destroy the rift. It closed something, but at the same time, it unlocked a doorway." Cade raised an eyebrow. "A doorway to what?" Talia didn't answer. Instead, she unclipped the relic from her suit's chest plate and held it in her hand. Its surface rippled, its fractal patterns pulsing in a way that seemed almost sentient. Her fingers brushed over its surface, and the connection surged again. A flash of images, alien worlds, long-forgotten technology, and faces she didn't recognize. A warning echoed in her mind. "You are not ready." Before she could react, the ship's comm system blared to life. A transmission crackled through, filled with static but unmistakably human. "This is Admiral Riker. You are to surrender immediately. We've detected your unauthorized use of the Darkside relic. If you do not comply, we will initiate a full-scale response." Talia slammed her fist on the console, her patience snapping. "Riker, we've already fought off one damn fleet today. What do you want now?" The voice on the other end was colder, more calculated. "You think you're safe, Captain? You've activated something you don't understand. Earth Command will take possession of that relic, and we will cleanse the galaxy of the Voidbringer threat. You have 2 choices, surrender or face extinction." The transmission cut off, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Milo turned to Talia, his expression hardening. Earth knows what's in that relic, and they want it, no matter the cost. You can't trust them anymore, Talia. Cade shook his head. If Earth gets their hands on it, they'll use it against the Voidbringers, no matter the consequences. Talia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the relic in her palm. She knew what she had to do. We don't surrender, she said, her voice steady. But we can't let Earth control it either. We'll take the relic somewhere they can't reach. Somewhere safe and hidden. Milo met her gaze, his eyes unwavering. And where exactly do we go? Talia's lips curled into a determined smile. To the edge of the galaxy. The last place anyone would think to look. Final cliffhanger. As the freighter set a course toward the unknown, a strange pulse resonated from the relic, sending ripples through space itself. The stars ahead flickered, and in the distance, something enormous stirred, something ancient and powerful, far older than the Voidbringers, and far more dangerous.